Oh, what a rotten week I've had. So what better way to forget about it than playing Stick War 3? King Zarik is now a risk to take in your loadout. Think of King Zarik as a movable statue that does a ton of damage. That's what he's basically become with the update to Stick War 3. On top of King Zarik being buffed, he has now been labeled as a statue. If Zarik dies, you lose the entire game. So you can imagine the problem here. Zarik now requires a lot of protection. You can't just spawn him like when he first arrived in the game. He was just an overpowered tank that was extremely fast, and if he died, you had no consequence. No. Zarik is to be treated like an actual king in battle, where he needs to be protected 100% of the time. So you can see the problem here, especially with spells like Glacial Fletching being in the game. If King Zarik is spawned, an army of Archidons can overwhelm him, and he will be mercilessly targeted by other high damage dealing units like the Shadow Wrath, or Zephos, or this bastard Kaichu. Sorry Kaichu, you got on my nerves a lot recently, at least when I'm playing against you. I still think you're cool though, but when you're my enemy, you suck. But anyway, I am going to do it. I am going to bring King Zarik, but we need to bring the right units to protect him. Luckily, wow, I was not expecting a match invitation. Hold on. Luckily, projectile barrier has been fixed after such a long effort of battling it from the developers. It has been fixed to where it works, as well as the numeric shield, so congrats to the developers. Fantastic job. I don't know how you guys do it, but it is appreciated, believe me. Anyway, we're going to bring Control Whip because I gotta test King Zarik's monstrous damage with Control Whip. It's 112. He's basically a Golden Spiriton from Stick War Legacy, where maxed out a Golden Spiriton does 112 damage. King Zarik can do the same thing, using Control with Control Whip. So we're gonna bring both of those. We're gonna bring Merrick's because, again, this is King Zarik, my new movable statue. If he dies, I lose. Could bring Shadow Wrath to chase down enemy Archidons, but then again, if they have Glacial Fletching, it's kind of worthless. And we have no ranged unit in this loadout. We need to fix that. So I kind of want to bring Magi Kill though. You know what? What if we... I don't know, I think Sword Wrath are pretty damn important though. I don't want to get rid of Sword Wrath. Damn, I really don't know what to do here. Yeah, I'm kind of stuck. I don't want to bring this loadout because it has a major weakness, which is ranged unit power. We need to have at least one ranged unit type in this loadout. We gotta make a sacrifice here. So let's get rid of Sword Wrath. Oh, we're not gonna have any tanks either. We have no Spiritons. You know what? Our tank is gonna be Toxic Deads. This has so many weaknesses, it's ridiculous. But hopefully, the power of Toxic Deads, and with Projectile Barrier, Ninjas for dealing high damage, and King Zarik's power, hopefully we can come out on top and win. Or we might just crash and burn. That's possible too. Oh wow, are we really gonna get a match right off the bat? Color me surprised. Oh god, he's got Glacial Fletching. Okay, so what do we do here? Because it looks like we're gonna have to try and go for an early Shadow Wrath, but I really don't know how well it's gonna go. So we need to do this right. Otherwise, it's gonna be an early Toxic Dead, which I'm kind of scared of summoning because he can be overwhelmed so easily. But we're gonna throw these two miners on crystals, while the other two miners bring in the gold. There we go. And there's nothing at tower yet, which makes me wonder, did he do a full eco start? It's possible. I could also go for a big play here and try and bring a miner to tower to claim tower, but that just fell over. But I don't think it's worth it. It looks like he did not go for any army unit start, so that's a good thing. That's what I like about this tower. Before then, when there was just within a game with the Black Spear, you could still tell because it would rise when a unit was there. Whatever. But since there are no army units at tower, now I almost forgot, this could also mean that they're building army units at base. Just because we don't see any army units doesn't mean that my opponent is not creating any, so we need to keep that in mind. But we have Control Whip already loading, so I think the right call here is to go for the early Shadow Wrath, and then back him up with Toxic Deads. Then we'll go for a couple of Merrics, maybe one Magi Kill, and then King Zarik. We can't just summon King Zarik and have him 1v1 everything. I'm sorry, it no longer works that way. Remember, if he dies, we lose, and I'm telling myself to remember that, really, because I tend to be an idiot. Alright, so Shadow Wrath is out. I'm going to take control of him and move forward here. Just scout ahead, see what my opponent has. So far, he has nothing, but again, he could be stacking like 5 Glacial Archidons right now, and I'd be terrified of that. But Tower is mine, Control Whip is almost ready, and now that Projectile Barrier actually works, I fully intend on... Oh god, see, I was right. He was stacking units. But he's not gonna press. He has a Merrick, so we can't fight that. So what we need to do instead is we need to go for... Actually, I think spamming some Toxic Deads is the right call here, because we can use the Shadow Wrath parry and Projectile Barrier combo to fend off the Archidons, while also using, you know, the Toxic Deaths to poison everything and whatnot. We need to get heavy into the mana here. Our mana right now is pathetic. And we'll also feel comfortable going for a secondary Shadow Wrath. So my opponent is only... Oh, there he goes. He has Tower. And he's backing off again. He's not Oh, wow. That's a pretty scary army. I wonder if a Magi Kill is the right thing to go for here, because I feel we're going to get so easily overwhelmed by those Sword Wrath. But then again, I have Projectile Barrier. The moment he runs in, I can use Projectile Barrier to protect the Ninja, and use the Ninja as the main source of damage for defeating the Sword Wrath. But I'm going to go for a Magi Kill here, because the Magi Kill will be really good for crowd control. And we just gotta be careful with King Zarik. We really do. I'm stacking a ton of gold, but my mana is awful. But I have 4 miners max on crystal, so I can't afford to. I like put another miner on mana crystals. It's just not possible. I'm wondering if we should risk a push as well. We have a Magi Kill out now. I'll go for another Toxic Dead, then another Shadow Wrath, and then honestly, I would love to just go for King Zarik next. Because with Control Whip, again, we're talking 112 damage. Alright, let's run ahead of here and see what he's got. Oh my god, he's building Speartons now. And, okay, he's not... This guy has no interest in fighting me head on. But I feel like he is outproducing me just a little bit. I mean, we have 5 Toxic Deads now, but I don't like the fact that we're being outproduced. We could be easily overwhelmed. But we have the Magi Kill. The Magi Kill is going to be important, and I think here is where we risk it. We risk going for King Zarik. Wow, this guy still trains incredibly fast. Look how fast he's training. That's incredible. Okay, so there we go. Here's King Zarik. 1,000 damage, 112 damage when boosted with Control Whip. And, yeah. What we need to do now is get some mana and get... Oh, here we go. He's coming. Okay. I'm gonna use Projectile Barrier. There we go. And we're forcing him away here. I think we should rush this. I'm going to try and attack his Archidons. Okay, his Merrics are using the shields. I need my Magi Kill to back up so he doesn't die. I think we're good though. We're gonna run behind the protection of our Toxic Deads. He's running quite a few Speartons in here, but my damage with King Zarik is just really good here. Look at this. Look at me just make the health on his Speartons vanish. And it looks like he's now trying to Merrick tank me here. We need to get behind the Toxic Deads again. And I'm going to use another Projectile Barrier to protect my Deads and King Zarik even more, and this will allow me to 1v1 the Spearton. So we're doing pretty good, but the problem is his units are light, which means my Toxic Deads are not going to do very good damage here. Why is he not backing off though? I clearly have the counter now. There we go, all of his Archidons are dead. And I have my Magi Kill moving in. King Zarik at half health. We want to make some more Merrics to protect him. See, look at this. We're only doing 8 damage to these Merrics. And man, that shielding is coming in so clutch. I mean, look at this. We just cannot kill them. We have a lot of Toxic Deads, and we're seemingly doing like no damage. So is he really he cannot win this fight. Okay, he's gonna garrison. I don't think we have the power to rush in right now, so we're just gonna back off. So that wasn't too bad. Although, one thing for sure, I definitely want to get some more ninjas, so we're going to focus on training ninjas more for a little bit. I think having at least 4 will be very good. And the problem is, ninjas are so fast, and the majority of my army power consists of slow units. Merrics, Toxic Deads, and the Magi Kill are all slow. Oh, and King Zarik. So, you know, I think to keep the Shadow Wrath from just running in and dying, we should keep a couple of them in garrison. So, you know, they'll catch up. These guys are really... Oh, wait, I'm max pop.
Attack.
I am max pop. That means we're just going to have to attack. This is a really small army for me to be at max pop. But then again, I do have a pretty massive economy. So, oh, here he comes again. I actually don't have to use projectile barrier because this ranged unit power is really weak now. So the Merrics are going to cast out their shields. I'm going to run in with King Zarik here. And I think King Zarik is the only real way to kill these Merrics. So we're just going to do that. Now King Zarik used to have an ability where he could stun units. They might have taken that away given the buffs he currently has now. We're going to use projectile barrier to protect the ninjas. 112 damage to statues. This is nuts. Holy crap. Well, there you go. If you want to delete a statue, King Zarik is the key. Okay, guys, so I'm going to be speaking a lot more quietly for this one. But, for these next couple of games, it's actually going to be a post-commentary. I couldn't do a live one because after those 2 games with Brad Sanford, or whatever his name was, I literally couldn't get another multiplayer match. It was impossible. I spent like 10 minutes in the queue and got nothing. So I did a couple of friend matches with Zarek. I can't pronounce the guy's name. I'm just gonna call him X. So I get a couple of friend matches with X, and they're actually pretty interesting. So I thought I'd post commentate them. Alright, so this is the first game, and we're starting things off. Of course, I'm fast forwarding the majority of this. So let's discuss the decks that we both have. For this one, he's got, wait for that notification to go away. For this one, he has Swords, Archers, Mass Heal, Control Whip, King Zarik, and Vampiric Soul. I have the same thing, at least in terms of the Swords, King Zarik, Control Whip, Vampiric Soul, and all that. But I also have Merrics, and I also have the Lightning Storm spell. I'm going to try and be using that pretty efficiently here, and I do think I did a pretty decent job of it. But right now, I'm just doing the same thing as I normally do, just stacking up swords. I did go for the early Toxic Dead because he's showing an Archidon, and that's, you know, one of the best counters to that. But this is where I intend to use the Lightning Storm here to basically, you know, if he runs forward with an Archidon, I can essentially trap it. But he's not bringing anything to tower yet, so I just kind of waited. But here we go. He comes towards tower. This is where I cast the Lightning Storm spell. And while he runs away with the Archidon that he's controlling, the Archidon that was stuck in there gets hit by the lightning and dies. He manages to kill my sword, but he has no chance against a Toxic Dead. And we both have Control Whip now, so we're both going to be doing increased damage. But he already has King Zarik, and as you can see, I'm not even close to getting King Zarik. I'm nowhere near having the required amount of mana, so I can't just stop what I'm doing and go for him. So this is actually bad because he went for King Zarik early. This guy at the current moment is unstoppable. 1000 health and 112 damage. He can run in 100% and I have absolutely no counter. In fact, the only way to stop him is to get King Zarik for myself.
but he opts to hold tower. Again, he's poisoned right now, but he has 1,000 health. And on top of that, he has mass heal. So at the last second, he can just heal and stop King Zarik from dying to poison. And you're noticing that Sword Wrath are useless because they are instantly one-shot. My Merrick makes a mistake and casts that shield, and that allows King Zarik to run in and just straight up obliterate her. And so I'm able to pull off kiting on King Zarik, but this is where he commits to running in. Watch this damage. Watch this damage. King Zarik can 3-hit a Toxic Dead. And you can see this guy still has an insane amount of health. If he wanted to, he could rush my entire economy. That's why I went for King Zarik for myself, because I realized that was the only counter to get him out. Even the Lightning Storm, yeah, it's gonna do some more chipping, but again, the guy just has a ludicrous amount of health. He's not gonna get hurt by that. Now he's running in with 5 swords. That's when I wisened up and I control King Zarik myself, so I can one-shot his swords with my own 112 damage. Now there's a King Zarik 1v1 happening, but I have the health advantage, and so I have to force him to leave. I thought I could rush him with that Sword Wrath and ambush his king, but he does manage to kill that Sword Wrath. So now we're in a bit of a standoff, you know? Here's where I try rushing him with the Sword Wrath, and I pull off a leap attack, but it's still not enough. His King Zarik still has a ton of health, and now he's just going to safely garrison him. So this part's going to turn into a massive fast forward session, because this turned into a standoff. I don't believe we fought past this point, because it was at this point that he began a Sword Wrath mass, and I caught on to it. I realized what he was trying to do, because I noticed that he garrisoned like all of his units. He has a very, very weak economy, but he also has Vault of Prudence, so he doesn't even really need to have a lot of miners like I do. You can see me queuing 10 swords because I realized what he was doing. He was going to secretly mass up an army of swords and rush in with that. But by the time I realized it, it was too late, because while I do have a population lead, the majority of my population is in miners. He does not need to make any more miners to put on gold. And the reason why is Vault of Prudence is generating all that gold for him. That's why he has 10,000 gold right now. Vault of Prudence is slowly increasing his gold count, so he has no need to have a massive eco. Unlike me, I kind of have to let my gold and mana build up because I don't have Vault of Prudence like he does. So this long stalemate is the result of just us spamming a ton of swords. So I'm going to just skip to when we actually fight. Okay, so here's a good starting point. This is where the battle is about to commence. Now, when I saw him moving King Zarik forward, I thought I could initiate a plan where I bait his king to run into my base, and then I could ambush him and kill him, which is why I brought all my swords out. But he played so smart. Without me realizing it, while King Zarik was at tower, he brought all of his Sword Wrath out. Notice how they outnumber me. When I saw him move King Zarik forward, I thought I had him. So I attacked, thinking I could ambush his king and he would have no protection. But he brought all those Sword Wrath in. Not only was I massively outnumbered, but I made the mistake of rushing my swords in when his king was there. And watch this. Just look at this carnage. Yeah, that was pretty hilarious actually. I mean, my king just got like obliterated there. But that was the result of me thinking that he didn't bring the rest of his army out. But he did. He brought them in at the right time. He played that smart. Instead of just foolishly having King Zarik lounge near my base, he had his army back him up. And his swords already outnumbered mine. And by the time I brought my king in, it was too late. Alright, so here is the final game that we played. And I switched to Giant's Monstrosity. I wanted to do an Eclipser Giant's Monstrosity. and a Trails build, so I don't have King Zarik in this loadout, but I was astonished to find out that he did the exact same thing. But observing his deck, he has he has Snow Squall and Projectile Barrier and Vault of Prudence again. We both have Vault of Prudence, and that's very important when you're using Giants. I mean, technically, you can use Giants without Vault of Prudence, but I don't think it's a good idea. But anyway, let's talk about his deck. He has melee deads, regular melee deads. Now, when I first saw this, I was confused because I thought that he brought melee deads as a bit of a joke, but they actually turned out to be pretty effective, and you'll soon see why. So yeah, Miner versus a melee dead 1v1, I obviously win that, so I get to take tower from him. Using a Miner, which is totally fine because I have Miner Hustle as well as Castle Archer. So my economy is already pretty much exploded, and I could have gone for a Giant, but I decided to start things off with Atreus because I can use him to scout as well as damage things, and when it comes to these melee deads, they're gonna have no chance against Atreus. So this round I'm just running in, I can literally just 2-hit these guys. So I remember at this point, I just got more confused because I see him making more melee deads, and I kept telling myself, well, these guys are worthless, so why is he going for them? But again, you're soon going to see why they actually could be very effective with this kind of deck. So he has a Giant, and he's using that Giant to protect his economy, but his Giant is slow, so I'm able to just run him with the trails and just poke his miners. Nothing too crazy, just poking at them. I thought that I could just cheese his Giant and just avoid his attacks, but then he makes King Zarik, and I knew I had to back out and also avoid those Giants' attacks. So with King Zarik being there to back up the miners, I couldn't push. Now, notice how he doesn't have Control Whip, so if he wanted to control his king, he would only do the standard 75 damage. It would not be 112 damage with Control Whip. Doesn't mean he's any less deadly though. So he's rushing for a tower with his Giant and his king, and I have my own Giant coming in, but I also have Atreus, and you'll notice how his king is not engaging. Unless he controls King Zarik, the king is not gonna push. I even attacked him twice and he still didn't do anything, so I decided to focus his Giant. But he makes a second Giant, which is a pretty wise move. Then he opts to surround my Giant, and this is where I knew I was in trouble. On top of a Snow Squall coming in, I had to get Atreus out of there. The Giant's not going to be completely frozen by that, but we just took a lot of damage there because his king actually went in and did severe damage. On top of the fact that Giants already do a lot of damage to each other, so I had to just garrison my Giant so he didn't die. But strangely, he opts to back off here. This is where I knew the red flags have been casted, and you can see I'm going for all 3 of my Castle Archers. They're going to be extremely important here. So look at this. This is where he's massing more melee deads. Now I'm going to explain why he opted to do this. The reason why is, as I said before, Giants can already deal destructive damage to each other. So by massing a ton of melee deads, it decreases the chances of my Giants hitting his Giants. Because Giants cap out at a max of 4 units per hit. But if my Giants are only hitting those melee deads, that means they're not going to hit his Giants, and his Giants will last longer than mine. I don't have melee deads, I have Eclipsers, and you can see I'm bringing them in here just to kind of cheese him, but he responds by just spawning Projectile Barrier and counter-attacking. On top of that, all those melee deads can be used to just chip down my Giants. It's low damage, but at that high number of melee deads, it's possible. And he casts another Snow Squall, and I stupidly run my wings right into it, but it's not like I could stay there because we would just get hit. So the Snow Squall manages to fade here, and we don't lose anything. Now he has 4 giants, and he's activating projectile barrier again. I have 3, but I also have all my castle archers, and I'm hoping that would help. So there we go, he's taking control of his king, and he's running in, so this is where the fight commences. And he opts to snow squall my giants again. I expected him to snow squall my wings, but he doesn't do that. So you'll notice that snow squall combination is really hurting my giants. We managed to kill all of his melee deaths, so we can hit his giants now, but projectile barrier comes in as well, and I'm going to be losing my giants really early here. But look at this, his giants are pretty low. I still have my eclipsers and my castle archers. So what ends up happening is I kill his giants, and that leaves his King Zarik in my base in the open. So we kill that giant, we kill his king, and we win the game. So there we go. That'll be all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. The new buffs on King Zarik, pretty interesting. But yeah, that'll be all for this video. Join the Empire and stuff. And I'll see you in the next one.